The sky was lying to them, it shimmered silver in the first dawn of chaos, but beneath the calm, every sensor, every heartbeat, every human instinct screamed that the world had changed, and when the clouds split like tearing metal over the Atlantic, a shadow larger than continents swept across the horizon, blotting the sun, and every human who looked up knew in the marrow of their bones that the alien fleet had arrived, silent, impossibly fast, and infinitely cruel, the Zeloth Voidreaver. Descending in formations that bent light and warped space, biometallic wings stretching like living blades, engines whispering death through the upper atmosphere, while its pilots, somewhere inside, somewhere in the psychic hive mind, felt no fear and no empathy, only the cold inevitability of conquest, and below them, Earth's defense scrambled with the frantic chaos of a species unprepared, alarms hammering in every command center, cities lit like burning embers under violet plasma shadows, but humanity had a secret, a knife forged in desperation, the VALKYRIE R-X, a human aircraft designed not just to survive the impossible but to defy it, its matte black adaptive stealth plating flickering like smoke as it absorbed radar and ambient light, twin quantum thrusters pulsing in synchronization with its neural-linked pilot, Captain Mara Vance, a woman forged from loss, grief, and the unyielding need to protect a species that had been declared extinct before it could even reach the stars. And Mara's eyes burned behind her visor as she gripped the controls, feeling the aircraft shiver in response, hearing the voice of her AI co-pilot, Valis, 9, in a calm monotone, Captain Vance, multiple targets identified. Engagement vectors optimal for offensive sweep. She swallowed, jaw tight, and whispered back, then let's give them a lesson in human stubbornness, as the RX leapt from the launch deck with the roar of a phoenix unbound, soaring into the storm where the first Zeloth Voidreaver sliced into the atmosphere, a living predator of incomprehensible scale, its carapace shimmering with violet energy, runes along its wings pulsing in an alien rhythm that Mara felt in her bones even before visual confirmation, the two crafts locking like chess pieces. In a deadly game, the first volley of bioplasma slicing the sky as Mara dove into evasive patterns, missiles chasing, laser arrays spitting light, the air around them bending, warping, screaming in protest as human technology and alien ingenuity collided at velocities beyond normal comprehension, and for the first time, Mara saw it in full. The alien craft was alive, almost breathing, flexing its wings as if taunting her, and she smiled through the tension, a flicker of madness in the storm. Knowing that fear was a luxury she could not afford, that hesitation would mean death, and that survival meant not just skill but understanding the enemy's mind, reading the patterns in its movement, predicting the strike that would erase her before she could return fire, and so she danced with death, weaving through ion streams, letting her missiles arc in controlled chaos, each hit tearing flesh from metal, each near miss sharpening her focus, the first twist revealing the alien psychic feedback loop, a pulse that invaded her neural interface, images of cities burning, oceans evaporating, humans screaming, but she forced it out, let rage feed her hands, let skill guide the Valkyrie through impossible angles, over loops that would shred ordinary jets, feeling the aircraft merge with her, every nerve a live wire of determination. And then the second battle erupted above the stratosphere where the sky itself seemed to fracture under the weight of technology and will, Mara and the RX charging headlong into three more Voidreavers, each more lethal than the last, weaving through gravitational distortions, countering psychic pulses, missiles dancing like living serpents around the alien craft, energy flares illuminating clouds that were no longer water but charged plasma and ash, the twist revealing that the alien fleet was not only attacking but harvesting energy from the planet itself, ripping electromagnetic fields into their propulsion, feeding on human fear as much as fuel. And Mara realized that this was not just a battle of machines but of ideas, courage against inevitability, human defiance incarnate against alien certainty, and she gritted her teeth, overriding safety protocols, pushing the RX into maneuvers that would break lesser aircraft, barrel rolls at Mach velocities, quantum thruster bursts that bent time around her, closing on the flagship Voidreaver that pulsed with malevolent intent, a cathedral-sized killer moving as if it could predict her every thought, her heart pounding with the weight of every life on Earth, every city still standing, every child breathing because she had chosen not to blink, not to yield, and in a heartbeat, she unleashed the full fury of the Valkyrie's quantum accelerator cannon, a pulse of energy that tore through the alien armor, exploding the craft in a superheated bloom that left fragments of metal raining like shooting stars. But the cost was immediate. The cannon feedback fried half of her systems. The RX screaming alarms, neural overload pulsing through her spine, and she fought to keep control as she spiraled through the fractured sky, dodging debris and pursuing Voidreavers, each moment a knife edge, every maneuver a battle against death itself, the second twist shattering her comprehension. The flagship's psychic core had survived the blast, echoing through the fleet. A call to vengeance that brought every remaining alien craft into a coordinated storm, and the sky erupted into chaos. Lasers and plasma crisscrossing, missiles spiraling in insane ballet, Mara executing every evasive tactic, counting her chances by heartbeats, the world watching through satellite feeds as humanity's single fighter held back annihilation, and for hours, time dilated in the storm of fire and metal, Mara and the RX spinning, climbing, diving, each pass more desperate than the last, until the final showdown loomed. The flagship at the center of the storm, all Voidreavers converging, Mara throttling full power, activating the RX's experimental singularity lance, a weapon capable of bending gravity itself, and with a prayer to lost friends, fallen comrades, and a species not ready to be erased, she fired, the black hole collapsing around the alien core, tearing it apart while simultaneously pulling the surrounding fleet into chaotic oblivion, explosions bending the sky, energy pulses ripping through the stratosphere, and just as victory seemed certain, the cliffhanger struck. The final pulse of the flagship's psychic network projected a mental echo, a warning, and the sky split again, revealing a fleet even larger, incomprehensible in scale, emerging from a tear in space itself, and Mara, panting, battered, systems failing, looked up with bloody determination, hands tightening on the controls, eyes burning with the same defiance humanity had shown for millennia, and whispered to the stars. "Then we fight, again," as the RX roared into the new storm, the screen of the world watching, breath held, knowing that the battle had only begun, that the species who had faced extinction and stared into the abyss was ready to scream back, to fly, to fight, and to prove once more that humanity, no matter the odds, would never kneel, never surrender, never fade, because even in the darkest reaches of space, even against the most unimaginable horror, there was one thing the aliens had underestimated: the human heart, unbreakable, unrelenting, unstoppable, screaming into the void. HFY, the world had held its breath, but the storm above showed no mercy, a sky scorched with violet lightning and shredded clouds. And Captain Mara Vance felt every vibration of the VALKYRIE R-X like the pulse of the planet itself as it screamed upward into a horizon ripped open by the tear left from the destroyed Zeloth Voidreaver flagship, her hands clenched around the controls, knuckles white. While the neural interface of Valis 9 hummed a soft but urgent warning, "Captain, residual psychic echoes detected, enemy fleet recalibrating, new vectors incoming at Mach 12+." Mara didn't flinch. She had survived what should have erased her existence, and she had learned in those first minutes of engagement that fear was an advantage only to the prey. The ocean below reflected the chaos above in fractured mirrors of fire and storm, cities burning faintly in the distance, satellites tracking the remnants of the alien armada as they reformed from the torn rift, and humanity's counterattack was assembling too slowly, desperately, with fleets that had once been symbolic now forced to become weapons of last resort, the air thick with anticipation. Static from overcharged radars buzzing like insects inside every command center, Commander Hayes. Rourke pacing on the bridge of the orbital command station, muttering curses as engineers adjusted shields. "She has to hold, she must hold," the words almost a prayer to a world that had no time left for gods. Below, Dr. Linnea Cortez monitored the RXS systems with trembling fingers, watching the adaptive stealth lattice flicker and bend under extreme load, seeing quantum thrusters oscillate beyond rated capacity, and whispered to herself, "She's more than a pilot, she's the soul of every human who refuses to die quietly." And then the sky erupted. From the rift in the clouds poured a new wave, not just one fleet but a swarm of Zeloth Voidreavers, dozens, hundreds, each an instrument of death, their biometallic wings slicing the air, engines a chorus of alien shrieks, runes glowing with psychic energy that Mara could almost feel inside her skull, the air around her bending as if obeying some alien mathematics that made no sense to the human mind. And the VALKYRIE R-X reacted, systems flaring, weapons priming. The twin rail-guided tungsten lances and quantum missiles lining up on vectors of fire as Mara dove into a coordinated offensive, each maneuver precise, each movement calculated, but the aliens were faster, smarter, and infinitely more adaptable, their psychic connection allowing them to anticipate every human move, and Mara realized instantly that this was not a normal battle, it was a test, a hunt designed to break humanity by showing it how small and fragile it truly was. She screamed into the headset, voice barely audible over thrusters, Valis, Mark V clusters, lead with rail lances, follow with quantum pulse. The AI's calm, metallic voice reassured her, coordinates locked, Captain. Engagement vectors optimal for maximum survival probability. And the first strike began in a blur of kinetic fury, the R-X weaving through a hailstorm of plasma, each alien missile a serpent of energy, each turn pulling her closer to the edge of human tolerance, the G-forces screaming through her body as if trying to wrench her soul free, yet she held, pushed harder, the Valkyrie responding to neural inputs with a synchronization that almost felt sentient, the aircraft and pilot moving as one instrument, one will, against the tide of annihilation, and for a moment she glimpsed the alien commander in the flagship Voidreaver, for glowing optic plates tracking her movements, psychic waves thrumming like drums in the brain, a taunt without words, an instinctive challenge, come closer, feel your doom, and she laughed despite the danger, a bitter, human laughter that echoed her defiance across the empty void of the upper atmosphere, and dove into the heart of the swarm, missiles igniting in spirals, laser bursts shredding incoming craft, each strike a ballet of destruction, but the first twist revealed itself in the alien countermeasures, an electromagnetic net, shimmering like liquid glass, expanding around her trajectory, each pulse threatening to fry Valkyrie's neural interface, forcing Mara into impossible maneuvers, climbing, twisting, barrel rolling, pulling negative GS, relying on instincts honed from years of simulators and battlefield horrors. And she remembered the promise she made to herself when she first took the cockpit. Humans don't break, they adapt, and adapting meant pushing the R-X beyond all known limits, firing singularity charges at strategic points, fragmenting the alien swarm, sending craft careening into one another, exploding like fallen stars, yet the second wave came, faster, coordinated, with psychic interference pulsing, sensors jittering, missiles blinking out of existence before firing, alien craft splitting midair into multiple forms, bodies bending space, twisting reality, Mara's heart hammering as she felt the universe trying to reject her very presence, and she screamed, pushing the throttle, activating experimental phase shunt thrusters, slipping momentarily out of normal space, dodging annihilation, reappearing behind 3 Voidreavers that had thought her trapped, unleashing every weapon she had in a synchronized cascade, quantum pulse lances igniting, rail-guided spears tearing through alien hulls with explosive concussions that lit up the clouds like fire in snow, and yet the psychic scream from the flagship rang in her mind, warning, taunting, claiming the battlefield was theirs to control, twisting every human nerve into fear, but Mara clenched her teeth and forced her own mind to strike back with the only weapon she had left, pure, relentless defiance, and as the battle escalated, the second twist became clear, the Voidreaver flagship had initiated a hive link to the entire Rift fleet, every craft acting as one organism, reacting faster than human thought, predicting human moves before they were even imagined, forcing Mara into an extended, high-velocity chase across the upper atmosphere, dodging plasma streams, smashing through energy fields, each second a challenge to her sanity, and as she executed a perfect spiral dive through an alien formation, she realized the R-X itself was evolving, adaptive lattices reconfiguring under stress, quantum drives bending trajectories she had never piloted before, as if the aircraft knew her intent before she thought it. An unspoken partnership between human and machine, and in that moment, she felt the legacy of every human who had ever dared the impossible, every inventor, every soldier, every survivor who had refused to kneel, guiding her hands, guiding the R-X through chaos, and she pushed further, past the breaking point, as a Voidreaver latched a psychic pulse into her neural interface, images of Earth burning, oceans evaporating, children screaming, cities crumbling, grief and loss poured into her mind. A psychic attack designed to break her, but she bit the fear down, let it fuel her precision, lined up the singularity lance, and fired, the black hole pulse engulfing the lead hive craft, collapsing reality around it, pulling adjacent fleets into disarray, alien engines failing mid-flight, biometallic wings tearing under gravitational stress, fragments raining like meteors. And the sky itself seemed to scream in defiance as Mara climbed out of the devastation, but the flagship, though damaged, remained, psychic tendrils reaching through the void, calling reinforcements, and the cliffhanger emerged. From the rift, a larger fleet appeared, incomprehensible in scale, thousands of Voidreavers emerging at once, psychic signals flooding Earth's defenses, the world below shaking in anticipation of annihilation, and Mara, battered, exhausted, yet unbowed, throttled the VALKYRIE R-X into a vertical ascent, weapons glowing, neural interface pulsing, every ounce of human courage, fury, and unyielding determination poured into the cockpit as she screamed, "Then let them come. Let them feel what it means to face a species that refuses to die," and the R-X roared into the storm, diving straight toward impossible odds, a solitary human figure in a machine of death, as the clouds of annihilation twisted into spirals above her, the psychic pulse of the flagship humming through every living thing on Earth, and the chapter ended with a vision of fire and shadow, a promise of war yet to come, and one immutable truth: humanity would rise again, no matter the cost, no matter the odds, because even in the darkest skies, even against fleets designed to erase them, humans never broke, humans never yielded, humans, HFY, would fight until the stars themselves obeyed their will. The sky had become a canvas of nightmares, violet streaks of plasma and fire crisscrossing the heavens, the remnants of destroyed Zeloth Voidreavers tumbling like shattered stars. But Mara Vance knew that nothing she had seen so far was the true scope of the threat, that the rift still pulsed with dark energy, and deep inside, the alien flagship, unseen until now, stirred like a predator awakening from a long slumber. It was colossal, the Zeloth Sovereign Harrower, a blade of living metal and psychic fury, hull shimmering with iridescent bioalloys, wings stretching farther than any human imagination could grasp, engines bending gravity into rings of violet fire, weapons thrumming with energy that made air molecules scream, and Mara felt it before she saw it, the psychic tendrils reaching into her mind, whispering dread and inevitability, images of Earth kneeling, oceans boiling, continents fractured. Yet the R-X vibrated under her hands as if sensing her resolve, the twin quantum thrusters pulsing to life, and Valis 9's voice was calm, precise: "Captain, flagship detected. Engagement recommended, extreme caution advised. Threat level, apocalyptic." Mara smirked through the neural strain, defiance burning like molten metal in her chest, and whispered, "Extreme caution is a luxury for those who don't have to survive." She dove through the fractured clouds, dodging plasma arcs that carved the sky in jagged lines, missiles streaking past in impossible arcs, debris raining from her previous battle as Earth's cities below became faint glowing dots, inconsequential yet precious, and she knew every maneuver mattered, every decision could save millions or doom them, her heartbeat syncing with the RXS systems, feeling the aircraft bend physics itself to keep her alive, weaving through the first wave of approaching Voidreavers as the Harrower's psychic energy built to a crescendo, the first shockwave hitting her neural interface like a tidal wave, sending flashes of fire and screaming humans through her mind, memories of fallen comrades, her sister lost years ago. The city of New Madrid vaporized in seconds, and she gritted her teeth, forcing the images aside, letting rage and skill fuse, firing rail-guided tungsten lances that tore into alien hulls, quantum pulses exploding Voidreavers midair. But the flagship watched, calculating, predicting, sending its swarm like predatory extensions, each craft moving in near-perfect coordination, forcing Mara into impossibly tight turns, accelerations that strained every muscle, every nerve. But the RX moved like an extension of her will, every adjustment of wing and thruster precise. And she realized that human ingenuity had created something beyond mechanical limits, the aircraft adapting faster than the alien psychic network could anticipate, small victory stacking with each destroyed Voidreaver. Yet the flagship remained, an immovable terror, engines bending reality as if mocking human audacity, and the first twist struck when a secondary psychic pulse hit, not just images but sensations, a tangible pull of fear and futility, a gravitational tug at her very soul, threatening to tear her consciousness from her body, and Mara screamed into the storm, overriding safety locks, activating the experimental phase core amplifier, a quantum feedback loop designed to temporarily enhance human neural reflexes beyond organic limits, and for a fraction of a second, time slowed, the R-X dancing through a nest of Voidreavers, missiles arcing like celestial serpents, plasma streams tearing the clouds into fire, and she carved a path straight for the harrower, each second a battle between instinct and overwhelming psychic assault. The aircraft and pilot won, unbreakable, unyielding, unhuman in their defiance. She fired the singularity lance, the black hole pulse engulfing a cluster of enemy craft, collapsing them into nothingness, a brilliant eruption of light against the dark sky. Yet the flagship remained, a cathedral of alien intent, wings flexing, energy rings expanding, and Mara realized it could not be destroyed by conventional methods alone, that this would require not just courage but a level of human creativity and sacrifice she hadn't yet imagined. As she dodged another psychic tendril lashing across kilometers of sky, a Voidreaver latched a biometallic claw onto the R-X, forcing the aircraft into a spin toward Earth's surface, alarms screaming, systems failing, the neural interface straining against psychic invasion, and in that instant, Mara remembered Dr. Linnea Cortez's words when she first took the cockpit: "You are not alone, Mara. The aircraft, the AI, and every human who ever dared the impossible, they are all with you." Drawing strength from that thought, she engaged the emergency graviton vector override, flinging the R-X free with an impossible acceleration that left the alien claw behind, the aircraft twisting through a storm of fire and psychic energy like a blade, rail lances carving through approaching craft, the singularity lance pulsing, tearing reality, and she realized for the first time the true scale of HFY. Humans didn't just survive. Humans adapted in real time, turning despair into weaponized ingenuity, and she smiled through the strain, even as the flagship unleashed its ultimate weapon, the Oblivion Cascade, streams of concentrated psychic energy that shredded matter and shattered the atmosphere in roaring sheets, and the R-X barely dodged, wings flexing, engines screaming, plasma burns leaving streaks across the sky like celestial scars. And as the battle raged, a fleet of smaller Voidreavers split off to flank her, forcing the R-X into loops that would have shredded conventional aircraft, her neural interface sparking, neural pathways overloaded, but she could not stop, could not blink, could not yield. She dove straight into the heart of the flagship's fleet, missiles detonating, plasma bursts erupting, clouds igniting, and in a moment of brilliance born of desperation, she reversed the quantum thrusters mid-spin, ricocheted off a gravitational anomaly caused by the harrower's engines, and lined up a shot at the flagship's command core, firing the singularity lance with every ounce of human will, the energy wave expanding, colliding with the alien hull in a roaring collapse of metal and psychic screams, debris raining across the upper atmosphere. Yet even as the flagship shuddered and cracked, the harrower unleashed a psychic counterstrike, sending Mara visions of total annihilation, the weight of billions of lives pressing into her mind, and her body screamed in response, yet she refused to break, and the R-X glowed with adaptive energy, deflecting psychic tendrils, quantum thrusters pushing beyond human tolerance, rail lances tearing swathes of Voidreavers apart, her heart beating in perfect sync with the aircraft's core, every breath a declaration that humanity would not kneel. The second twist became unbearable when the flagship's psychic core split, projecting a mental echo that formed tangible projections, phantoms of Mara's worst fears, fleets of human cities burning, comrades dying before her eyes, her own body failing, and she realized that defeating this entity would demand more than skill, it would demand every bit of human ingenuity, every ounce of courage, every fragment of hope left in her soul, and in a surge of defiance, she pushed the R-X's systems beyond all limits, engaging the experimental neural echo overdrive, amplifying her focus to superhuman clarity, weaving through the psychic projections, and for the first time, she saw a flaw: the flagship's psychic reach, though vast, was tied to its core, vulnerable if she could strike with precision. Channeling every instinct, she fired a chain of singularity lances, rail-guided spikes, and quantum pulses in perfect harmony, the flagship shuddering under impossible human ingenuity, biometallic wings cracking, psychic energy faltering, and Mara knew she had scored a true victory, but before she could savor it, the rift pulsed violently, and from its depths emerged an armada even larger than before. The sky bending with their presence, thousands of Voidreavers converging, psychic screams colliding with human fear, earth trembling below, and Mara, battered, systems damaged, neural interface near overload, gritted her teeth, looking at the impossible numbers, and whispered, "Then we fight again," as the VALKYRIE R-X roared into the oncoming storm, missiles blazing, thrusters screaming, a single human against a sea of alien horror, and the chapter ended with the world holding its breath, waiting, knowing that the true war was only beginning, and that the harrower had awakened. Fully, more terrifying than any human mind could imagine, a godlike adversary forged in alien intent, and Mara, sweat and blood on her face, fingers tightening on the controls, whispered one final truth to the void: humanity never surrenders. The atmosphere above Earth had become a battlefield of apocalyptic proportions, clouds shredded into glowing tendrils of ionized plasma, lightning striking in jagged fury as though the planet itself had joined the war, and Captain Mara Vance, battered yet unbroken, guided the VALKYRIE R-X through the remnants of the last Voidreaver assault, engines screaming, wings flexing with adaptive precision, every quantum thruster pulse a prayer to survival, while Valis 9's voice cut through the neural strain with calm certainty. "Captain, multiple fleet formations detected approaching the fractured rift. Threat level, critical." Mara's jaw clenched as she scanned the horizon, a swirling maelstrom of alien biometallic craft, the Zeloth Sovereign Harrower at its center, wings spanning miles, engines warping reality, energy runes glowing with malevolent intent, psychic tendrils slicing through the atmosphere like invisible blades, and she felt the weight of every human life on Earth pressing into her consciousness. The cities below flickering with vulnerability, satellites tracking the swarm, every orbital weapon ready. But insufficient, humanity's fleets spread thin, desperate, and yet Mara knew that the VALKYRIE R-X, with her skill and the aircraft's sentient systems, was the planet's last hope. She dove, spiraling through a hailstorm of plasma and missile fire, rail-guided tungsten lances streaking across the sky, exploding Voidreavers midair in a choreography of death, the first twist striking when the flagship unleashed its Oblivion Cascade, a psychic maelstrom that ripped at Mara's neural interface, projecting visions of total annihilation, cities burning, oceans boiling, comrades screaming in impossible horror. Yet she gritted her teeth, overriding safety protocols, activating the experimental neural echo overdrive, forcing her mind to push beyond human limits, every sense fused with the R-X, every reflex honed to near perfection, weaving through impossible trajectories, pulling negative GS, barrel rolling through streams of plasma, and the aircraft responded like an extension of her soul. Wings flexing, thrusters pulsing, weapons primed, quantum pulse lances and rail-guided spikes arcing with lethal precision. The sky itself seemed to bend under the weight of the battle, lightning reflecting off shattered clouds, fragments of alien craft raining down like shooting stars, while Mara's thoughts flickered to Dr. Linnea Cortez, the AI, and every human who had built the R-X. The vessel itself a testament to ingenuity born of desperation, and yet the second twist emerged as Mara detected a secondary fleet emerging from the rift's shadows, smaller but coordinated, moving with uncanny synchronization, the harrower's psychic reach extending to control them all, and she realized that this assault was not only physical but psychological, a war on instinct, courage, and hope, designed to break the human spirit before erasing Earth itself, and she screamed into the storm, pushing the R-X into impossible maneuvers, slipping between twin streams of energy that would have vaporized ordinary aircraft, firing singularity lances with perfect timing, each pulse collapsing alien hulls, pulling the psychic tendrils back, but the harrower countered, projecting phantoms of Mara's worst fears directly into her neural interface, simulations so real she felt the heat of burning cities, the screams of her friends, even the betrayal of allies she had never trusted, yet she refused to break, refusing to blink, refusing to yield, and for a moment, the sky was quiet, the calm before a storm, a pause in which she realized that the R-X was evolving under extreme stress, adaptive lattices reconfiguring, thrusters bending reality around them, weapons aligning with her intent, a partnership beyond man and machine, and she smiled briefly, a flicker of human madness, because even the Voidreaver's psychic assault could not erase the one constant in the universe, human defiance, and then the storm erupted again, larger, faster, more coordinated, and Mara pushed through the psychic pulse, diving toward the flagship, missiles flaring, quantum pulse lances igniting, plasma streams tearing clouds into fire, each maneuver a dance with death, the aircraft responding to her thoughts almost before she could think them, and she realized with a thrill of terror that this was no longer just a battle, it was a war for the very definition of humanity, a test of courage, ingenuity, and the unbreakable spirit, every strike, every maneuver, a message to the aliens that humans would not kneel, that Earth would not fall quietly. As the R-X dodged a psychic tether from the harrower, Mara activated the graviton vector override, slinging the aircraft in a loop that tore through several Voidreavers, collapsing their formations, missiles spiraling, plasma detonations illuminating clouds in hellish brilliance, yet she knew the flagship's psychic core was still intact, still plotting, and she felt the pull of despair, yet the human instinct to fight surged, a tidal wave of bravery and stubbornness, and she screamed, overriding the final safety locks, firing a chain of singularity lances directly at the flagship's core, each pulse perfectly timed, each shot collapsing reality in microsingularities, metal shattering, energy imploding, psychic tendrils screaming in resistance, and as the flagship convulsed under the assault, the rift above pulsed violently, tearing open wider, and through the tear poured another armada, larger, faster, more horrific, the sky bending under their mass. Psychic signals bombarding Earth's defenses, alarms screaming in every command center, humanity teetering on the edge of despair, yet Mara, battered, bloodied, systems near overload, neural interface sparking, gritted her teeth, and shouted, "Then we fight, again." The VALKYRIE R-X surged forward, twisting through impossible maneuvers, singularity lances igniting, rail-guided spikes tearing through approaching fleets, engines screaming, wings flexing under unimaginable stress, a single human facing a godlike armada, refusing to yield, refusing to kneel, refusing to die quietly, and in that moment, as the world held its breath below, Mara felt a strange calm amid the chaos, knowing that every human life, every act of courage, every spark of ingenuity that had built the R-X and placed her in the cockpit was with her, a tidal wave of unyielding spirit, and as the armada approached, the psychic shriek of the harrower reaching a crescendo, the chapter ended with the R-X diving headlong into impossible odds, missiles blazing, thrusters at full quantum output, a human figure screaming into the storm, the sky itself torn in anticipation of the coming clash, and one immutable truth echoing through the chaos: humanity never kneels, humanity never yields. And even in the darkest skies, against impossible horrors, humans fight, HFY, until the stars themselves obey their will. The storm had reached a scale that defied comprehension, the sky above Earth ripped into spirals of violet and crimson, lightning dancing like jagged knives through clouds shredded by thousands of Zeloth Voidreavers, and at the center of it all, the VALKYRIE R-X piloted by Captain Mara Vance screamed through impossibility, engines flaring, wings flexing, weapons primed. Neural interface pulsing with every ounce of human ingenuity and courage, while Valus 9's voice cut through the chaos with calm clarity: "Captain, flagship core analysis complete, structural integrity at 20%. Fleet coordination failing, but rift expansion imminent." Mara's eyes narrowed behind her visor, lips pressing into a thin line, as she realized the true scale of what she faced, not merely the flagship Zeloth sovereign harrower, terrifying as it was, but a growing armada emerging from the rift, thousands of Voidreavers, psychic energy pulsing in waves, gravity bending around them, and every moment they remained in formation was another moment to annihilate humanity. Yet the R-X shivered under her hands, responding to her intent, every wing flap, every thruster pulse a testament to the human spirit, and she thought of Dr. Linnea Cortez, the engineers, every soldier, every child, every city on Earth, and the weight of survival bore down like a physical force, yet fear had no place here, only action, and Mara dove headlong, spiraling through plasma arcs and gravitational anomalies, missiles streaking, quantum pulses igniting, the sky lighting up in explosions and fire as the first strike hit the armada, Voidreavers collapsing, tearing through each other, yet more arrived, psychic tendrils slicing through clouds, assaulting human minds, testing every ounce of endurance, and the first twist hit when the flagship activated its Oblivion Singularity Array, projecting psychic avatars of Mara's worst fears directly into her neural interface. Visions of Earth destroyed, friends and family vaporized, fleets falling in moments. Every human she had ever known screaming in torment, yet she clenched her teeth, overriding neural safety locks, activating the experimental singularity core amplifier, fusing R-X and pilot into one, neural pathways firing beyond human limits, instincts sharpened to razor precision, and she screamed into the storm, "You will not take us." The R-X twisted through impossible arcs, barrels rolling through a storm of plasma, rail-guided lances streaking, singularity pulses detonating with violent precision, every shot tearing chunks of Voidreaver fleets apart, yet the flagship remained, wings flexing, psychic tendrils lashing across kilometers of sky, engines bending reality in impossible spirals, and Mara realized the human advantage, ingenuity, adaptability, and unbreakable courage, the R-X bending physics, creating angles of attack no algorithm could predict, and she exploited them, firing sequential singularity lances, tearing at the flagship's core, collapsing gravity around enemy craft, yet the second twist struck as the rift itself responded, tearing wider, a massive dimensional fracture, pulling fleets and even fragments of Earth's atmosphere toward it, threatening to consume the planet, and Mara had to choose. Finish the flagship or save Earth's remaining cities from immediate annihilation, but she gritted her teeth, knowing that human courage could force impossible odds into improbable victory, and she opted for a dual strike, firing the R-X's full arsenal, rail-guided lances, singularity pulses, and quantum missiles in a synchronized cascade that shattered the flagship's hull while simultaneously generating a counter-singularity to stabilize the rift, the sky screaming in response, the air itself tearing, clouds igniting, psychic screams ripping through the atmosphere, yet even as she executed perfection, a Voidreaver latched onto the R-X, its biometallic claws gripping, system straining, neural interface sparking, and Mara responded with a barrel roll into the gravitational eddy, twisting, firing, ejecting fragments of the alien craft into the storm, engines screaming, wings flexing, and the R-X survived, battered, smoking, systems near collapse. Yet humanity had struck a true blow, the flagship's core shattered, its psychic control weakening, and thousands of Voidreavers now floundering, coordination failing, psychic projections collapsing, yet in that brief moment of triumph, the rift pulsed violently, a massive, incomprehensible shockwave tearing across the stratosphere, and through it emerged a new horror, larger than the Armada, a fleet that bent light, moved faster than thought, vessels shaped like jagged black shards, psychic signals overwhelming every human sensor, and the true scale of the enemy revealed itself. The harrower was only a herald, a vanguard, the rift now disgorging an invasion fleet beyond imagination, millions of alien crafts ready to descend, psychic screams vibrating through Earth's crust, satellites scrambling, humanity's fleet staggering under the weight of incomprehensible numbers, and Mara, battered, systems nearly fried, neural interface on fire, gritted her teeth, eyes burning, knowing this was no longer a fight for survival alone. It was a declaration of existence, and she screamed into the void, "Then let them come. Humanity will not kneel." The R-X surged forward, quantum thrusters igniting beyond limits, rail-guided lances piercing the storm, singularity lances detonating, wings flexing, engines screaming, twisting, diving, climbing through impossible vectors, the human spirit manifest in metal and fire, and as she reached the heart of the emerging armada, the cliffhanger struck. A psychic projection of the alien supreme intelligence appeared, not in a vessel, but as a godlike consciousness, spanning kilometers, warping space, bending reality, and it spoke into her mind, not with words, but with pure intent, a singular, horrifying truth: humanity is ours to consume. Mara, battered, bleeding, mind screaming, fingers tightening on controls, looked up at the impossible horizon, the R-X groaning under stress, engines on fire, weapons nearly spent, yet a human laugh broke through, fierce, unyielding, echoing across the storm, and she whispered, "Not today, not ever," as the R-X dove straight into the psychic storm, weapons blazing, defiance incarnate, and the camera of the world, satellites and command centers alike, held its breath, because humanity had fought miracles before, but this This was a battle that would be remembered in every star, every corner of space, every heartbeat, for the first time, the universe itself watching as humans, unbroken, defiant, unstoppable, proved once again, in the face of impossible odds, that HFY, humanity never kneels.